All right, that's going. Are you good?
Good.
All right. In 3, 2. Hello and welcome to the RTO show. I'm your host, Pete Chow. And listen, every day, you guys probably listen to a podcast. You're going to hear me say something. This is somebody I brought back today. We were talking to Atlog. Listen, these guys got it going on. But when we first talked to them, when we last talked to them, they were fresh on the scene. Now I've got Viraj here telling me they're doing all kinds of stuff. And I know for a fact that you're going to want to hear about it. But first, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything, especially things like we do today. Make sure you go to the podcast website at thertoshowpodcast.com. Subscribe to the newsletter because we talk all kinds of stuff that you might not hear on the podcast. And last but not least, make sure if you listen to the show and you like it, become a sponsor. That's how we get to stay up in front of you. Now, my man, Viraj, dude, how long has it been? It's been maybe a year, 18 months that we met. Has it been almost 2 years now?
A little around a year at this point. Yeah.
So
FRD last year. Yeah.
That's what it was. FRD. So I'm literally, guys, I'm literally doing my thing. I'm going around. I see them, but I don't really get to see them. And then the next time I see you guys, well, the next time I see anybody is an MRDA, right? So
Yes.
now we're in Missouri. We have a conversation. And what it seemed like is there was a lot going on. But before we tackle into that, let's find out a little about Viraj because it was somebody else last time. I want to know what's going on with you. What caused you to get into the RTO space? Because I know that you were a big part of that. And dude, I heard that there's some really nice things going on with Atlog right now. Like at first I was kind of like, where are you guys going to get in? You know, there's a lot of trepidation in the RTO world of kind of moving too fast, too quick. And next thing I know, you guys are on the money. I mean, it's happening. So let's start off first because I hear Viraj is a historian at heart. Is that true?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I studied history and computer science in college. So those are my two subjects, and I did a lot of history stuff in high school as well.
So how does the history guy start with AI? Like, where does that come from?
Well, I had computer science as well, so I was always doing different like AI research. I was always coding, always like building things, and then history was just because I really liked reading as well. So yeah, kind of just had both the analytical and the more humanities side at the same time, and I still do that now.
So listen, before we get into the whole thing, I want to talk about a little bit of the Viraj Wild Child. Did you actually get kicked out of high school?
No, I did not. No. I did not get kicked out of high school.
Somebody said that it's possible. I was like, I don't think so. I don't think that was the guy. But listen, truthfully, you have this historian, you have this computer background.
Mm-hmm.
As you're going through, then you end up at Vanderbilt. You end up on the Y Combinator. I don't think I asked this enough in the past, but why does a Y Combinator make it so much more in the field that you're in, so much better? Because being at Vanderbilt is no small thing. Going a little bit further and being a Y Combinator, what does that mean, and what does that afford you to have going into this AI scene?
Yeah, for sure. So Y Combinator, they're the original funders of a lot of companies that you've heard of. So companies like Airbnb, Dropbox, DoorDash, and the most important definitely is OpenAI, right? So OpenAI was founded as part of Y Combinator, and really just being in that ecosystem. Number one, what they do is they give you funding to take your company off the ground, which is really important. And they're our first believers in terms of investors. Not only that, but also you get the name, like the credence as well. So it's like, yes, we were super smart and we were able to do all of these great things and we were able to code, but it's really nice when someone who's like a titan of the industry who has funded really, really great companies also funds you as well. And then you also have like that peer network. So our mentor, David at Y Combinator, he created Google Photos. So his apps had 1 billion users. So getting mentorship from those kinds of people is not something that you can get anywhere, right? And yeah, so it honestly just helped us just with every single part of our company, just on the funding side, but also just how to kind of just get off the ground as well.
So paint me a picture. what does a typical day look like for you guys? And I know that, coming into this, there was a lot of discovery, right? There was not
Yeah.
only getting into the business of AI, but finding out how the business of AI was going to affect RTO, what in ways that you could utilize AI. And like, there's been like, and I think even when we talked, there has been so much of an explosion of AI directness in what everything we do, right? It's on our phones, it's on our computers. I can have Claude do half the stuff that I needed to do now. So this is an iteration that is here. And I believe that, and I've always believed that Atlog is like on the forefront of ushering that in. Now, what does it look like that first off, when did you end with Y Combinator, or is there an ending to Y Combinator, and how did you get into Atlog in the first place?
Yeah. So Y Combinator itself is like a 3-month program. So we ended in June of last year. So yeah, so that's when we ended Y Combinator. That being said, it's like an ongoing process. It's a community that lives on. It's like a school, right? So it's like once you're part of a school, you're always an alumni forever, and you have that community. You still have those peer networks and those mentorships as well. Um, yeah, and then specifically just around what things look like on a day to day for us. So, especially when we were doing discovery, honestly, what we did is we flew across the country and we just visited customers in different RTO stores. So we would just go in person and try to learn about their different problems. So we were in Arizona, we were in Illinois, we were in Indiana, we were in Nashville, we were all over. We're in Tampa and FRDA, just trying to learn about the problems that RTO dealers had. So before we even had a product, making sure that we were solving a problem that was worth solving that mattered to dealers as well.
So I'm looking at the overall aspect of it, because I know that as you're looking at RTO, you're like, there are so many places that we can do this. There are calls that could be made. There are sales calls that could be followed up on. There's scheduling that could be done. There could be ordering situations, but it's never as easy as saying, well, that's all it needs and let's get it done. Right. So there's more to it. First off, you got to come into it, look at it, do the discovery, like you said, find the pain points, and then match up what you have to those pain points or tailor what you have. Now that we're kind of already in it, because you've kind of gone through that, you've kind of done this discovery. Now you're standing in front of rent to own. And I've seen you do MRDA, I've seen you do FRDA. What are some of the players that you have that you've worked with where somebody can go, you know what, I know that company. I might want to try Atlog because I trust the guy that they're working with?
Yeah, for sure. So our biggest one is definitely RNR. So within the RNR franchise, we've been working with them. We've been working with corporate along with a bunch of franchisees as well. We're working with Hometown up in Pennsylvania and in upstate New York as well. We're working with a virtual lease to own player called You Own Leasing. They've been really great. They're headquartered down in Tampa. And we've been in the works with a few other dealers as well that I can't name just yet. But yeah, things have been going well on that side. So yeah.
So versus when you first came on. Now, when we first came on, and you guys might be able to see this on the last podcast, I actually took a call with one of the virtual assistants, and it was quite phenomenal. It was actually breathtaking. It did a pretty good job. Now, mind you, I didn't get into it, and I didn't say I'm not paying my damn bill. But what I did do is I get into it, and it was a little bit, back and forth, and the banter was good. Now, fast forward 12 months. You said one of your biggest clients right now is RNR.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through what is happening in the rent to own space that needed AI, and how were what areas did you tackle first?
Yeah. So honestly, so we started off just seeing that collections was a huge, huge part of the rent to own space. That's how the business operates. That's how you make money. You need to make sure customers are on time. And there's a lot of manpower there as well. So our first stop was 100% around collection. So that is something that we launched with first you own. And then, but for R&R, we realized that with collections, we would have to have all these different software integrations and things like that. So we started with like a more introductory problem around just handling inbound phone calls. Since R&R is more of like a service-based business, they sell tires and wheels. They need to be able to handle every single kind of inbound call. They need to be able to educate customers on what RTO is, what the payment plan looks like, things like that, what the R&R differences, what the benefits are about going to R&R. So it's like, how do you bring that into a computer system? And so that was like the main challenge that we've been having to face and that we've been able to get over, is that we're able to bring kind of like the essence of what the business is and put that into an AI, which I think has been really powerful and a reason why a lot of our customers like what we've been doing.
Let me ask you a question. I know that right now, RNR is running on what some might call a proprietary system. Their short-term calling is Revo, right? So they have Revo. That's something they've been using for a few years. This is not somewhere that's everywhere. It's something that right now is just at RNR. Is there an advantage from having something that was kind of a little bit made from scratch, being able to be involved in some of the coding that happens, I would imagine there's an advantage, but like, did you catch it early enough to integrate well, or was it something that you had to backtrack and kind of find some back doors to make it work?
Yeah, 100%. I think the best thing about Revo, yes, it's new. They're really just trying to push the program forward. But I think something that's super great about them is that the team is really good. So the team is super responsive. They're really sharp. They're good developers. And that's honestly the best thing about Revo, is that they're all very hungry, which is great for us. Where, in a world where you want to move as quick as possible versus before someone kind of eats your lunch. That's where the Revo team has like really shined for us.
So, what is it that they have that allows you to integrate so well? Because there's some rumors that I've heard, and we're gonna approach those a little bit later, because I hear that AI is all up in what we're doing. But when you're talking about systems, right? There's some POS systems out there, or operating systems, whatever you want to call them, that are not easily integrated with. Now they're either using something that looks like a dot matrix, or they're using a Windows 7 based operating system. What is it about the systems that has made Revo so inertly capable? And are those other systems something that you can actually work with, or are they just out of the park? I can't get AI to go.
Yeah, so the thing about the Revo systems is that their own developers are able to develop APIs. So basically, just like connections, programmatic connections into the systems, right? And whereas the old ones, you have to do a lot of finagling. We have had to do some of our own integrations and things like that. So the best thing about Revo is that their own internal dev team kind of set themselves up for success to make their program very extensible and open to the right vendors and the right partners as well. Yeah, that's really what makes the difference. So that's why like building it from the ground up on new and modern technology has been really important, especially when we're trying to integrate with AI. That being said, we have figured out a few different ways to integrate with other providers.
Okay, so right now, if somebody was to hear what's going on, which we'll cover out in a few minutes, they can feel somewhat okay that you might be able to help them out as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when we're talking about the wheel and tire, guys, the wheel and tire business is a little bit different in the sense that we're not driving to homes to give them wheel and tires. What we do is we schedule them in the back shop. They come in and we take care of them there. Now, is there ever a time when we have to leave the building? Absolutely. You might have a flat tire somewhere, or you're trying to provide a service, but in truth is 95% is going to be in store. And the reason that happens is because we got to service tires. They got to be rotated and balanced. They've got to be aligned, and they've got to be bought and sold. So that aspect is a little bit different of it. What I'm hearing is that Revo has the ability, or at least the integration ability, to have AI help them set schedules.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So with Atlog, you can just call someone on the phone, an R&R store that's using Atlog on the phone at any time, and it'll book you for an appointment. It'll understand the store's availability. It'll understand how many techs there are, understand what services that store offers and things like that. And it'll actually fully book that appointment and bring in more revenue for the stores as well.
So when we're talking about that, let's be honest, and I want to get into the nitty gritty. Not everything works up front. How is the integration? How well does it work versus having somebody on the phone? The success rate of getting these things and getting people in the door. Do you have those type of numbers where you can say, AI booked so many, and this is the success rate on those?
Yeah, so some of our best stores, they're booking 15 to 20 extra leads per week per store. And those are
Really?
people that are coming in, and actually like buying things, buying services, looking at tires and wheels, scheduling callbacks, things like that. So yeah, if used properly, you can definitely bring in a lot of extra revenue.
How many of those AI integrations that you have going on are happening, let's say, during hours versus after hours? Is that 15 to 20 after hours that it's getting set up, or is that during the day, or how does that work?
20 both during and after hours. So the way our system works is that if you want to set it during hours, it'll basically, if someone does come to the phone, it'll default to the human. But let's say sometimes, the store misses a message, then the AI will handle it after the phone has been ringing for something like 30 seconds.
So it actually picks up. And now, what is the extent of what AI does, right? Are they calling, it sets up an appointment and that's it? Or is there more to it that eventually it will do, or what does it do now?
Yeah, so it'll set up an appointment. And then what we're also rolling out with a direct Revo integration is that eventually we'll be able to directly take payments over the phone or over text. So the AI will be able to run the card on file, for example, based on if the customer texts like, hey, can you run my card? It'll be able to, take a payment. It'll be able to kind of do like the account management piece. It'll be able to do outbound calls. It's also able to do inbound texts as well. So if a customer prefers not to just call, but they want to text the store, it'll do text as well. And let's say someone from the store forgot to respond to a customer, the AI will come in and pick up that conversation to make sure the customer is always being addressed as well.
Wow, that's pretty wild. I'm going to ask a crazy question, but how good is the AI at negotiating?
Yeah. Honestly, it depends on how much you want it to negotiate. So we have some customers where they'll give it AI like a range that it can negotiate from. So it's like, I need to collect $600 from this person, but I'm willing to take between 80 to 90% of that. And if you get between 80 to 90%, then you can go ahead and run that payment. So the AI will actually be able to negotiate where if someone says, hey, I can't make a payment of $600. And then the AI will say, oh, can you do like 580? And then it's like, no, I can't do that. Oh, okay. Can you do something like 573? And so it'll choose like kind of like a random number to not make it seem like it's just going down 5%, 10% each time. And then the customer's like, oh no, I can only do 200. Okay, I can't do 200. So it'll make sure to like block itself. So it's the negotiation of it is as good as you want it to be, really. And how creative you are with setting it. And we help you do that, of course.
Well, I mean, I like the idea. Your tagline says AI that won't get you sued, which is it's a very wild tagline. To be honest with you, I like it. It's catchy. So as it's negotiating, as it's setting up timeframes, what is something, everybody's worried about that. They don't want AI to make a claim, to say something bold, to do something that we shouldn't do, and then it gets us in trouble. When you say that tagline, not only does it sound very useful, it sounds very, pragmatic. So talk to me. What does that really mean when you say AI that won't get you sued? And do you know somebody? Do you know somebody who's been down that road that has actually had to worry about that?
Yeah, no, honestly, it's because we saw it as like a big concern for the RTO industry, right? There are all of these concerns around technology, how it operates, what if it goes off the rails. So we wanted to make people aware that that's like on our forefront. So not even just around the AI, but everything, or not even the AI itself, but everything around it as well. So we'll actually be able to handle all of the TCPA rules and regulations on a state by state basis. So like RNR has stores in tons of states, like 30 plus states, right? And so what we can do is based on each state and each state's rules, we're able to make sure that the AI doesn't call someone too many times based on Florida laws versus Alabama might be different. So things like that. But then also based on what the AI says. So you never want to say financing in like an RTO context. So we make sure that it doesn't say those words. And that's something that's like really important for us to make sure that dealers feel safe deploying it. And something that we've noticed is that it tends to be a lot more safe than maybe even a human, where it'll never get mad at a customer. It'll never get upset with them. It'll never say anything that's totally off script, which is something
I am not paying you. I'm not doing this. You better give me my money, man.
Yeah.
Um, so going from then to now, what were some of the things that you were running into that what have you overcome in the last 12 to 18 months? What is it, because I know when you first came on the spot, a lot of people were like, I'm not sure if this is going to do it. I'm not ready to add AI to it, but the money sounds good, right? If I can do this for cheaper. Listen, if anybody knows this, right now there's a lot of businesses that are going through it. We're laying off this or we're laying off that. Well, why? Well, because computers are coding, computers are answering phones, computers are getting the natural day-to-days kind of done. Yes, there are people that are needed to do the extra, right? If there's some brain power needed, they're going to keep them. But honestly, like you said, if it's answering the phone, if it's texting customers, if it's making sure schedules are on time, it's a fraction of the cost. Now, I'm not saying it's good or bad. You're going to have to make that decision for yourself, but it's here no matter what. When you first started, it wasn't that way. And I don't, there was this amount of AI that you had, but now it's a little bit more vetted than it was. Have you been able to knock some people's problems? If I have a problem with it, right? If I have a conflict, have you been able to overcome those in the last 12 months with the accomplishments that you've made?
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's a couple things. Number one, like you said, it's definitely just about education, just like how people are feeling about it, right? You need something to sit in your mind and just kind of do I want this? Do I not want this? What are my priorities? And that's totally fine. And yeah, that makes sense. What we want to show, and especially with our customers who took that early chance on us, is just having really, really good customer service. So let's say the AI is not behaving properly, in ways that you didn't want it set. We'll be on that right away. We've had customers text us at 11 p.m. and then at 1 a.m. we pushed up a change to fix AI. So it's really just about being there with the customer and being able to show that we care about the customer and making sure that it's to their specifications and to their needs as well. That's been the biggest thing, and by that, a lot of our customers have recommended it to their friends and going from there. And then that starts just a very natural, nice sales process on that side, which is really great because our friends might have been on the fence or they didn't know. And so then there are those a lot more proof points about not only the program, about the development, about the quality, but about us as a company as well.
When you're talking about AI at home, I can go to my computer and I can ask Claude, hey, analyze this, go through my emails, check this. I can chat GPT something. When you're talking about AI in the store's location, do the employees have a chance to interact with the AI, or is the AI separate from what they can interact with during their day-to-day processes?
Yeah, so it really depends on how you as the dealer want to set it up. So we do have stores where the employees are working directly alongside of the AI. So for example, on text, sometimes the employee will come in, other times the AI will come in and just handle text with customers. And then do we have others that just completely want to abstract it away? So if they're doing primarily outbound calls, they just don't want employees dealing with it. They'll just we'll have it all be AI. AI does this one function and that's it. That's the only thing that it's doing. So it just really depends on the store, but we have a combination of both.
I think that, when people hear AI and they hear that it's this outside force and they don't get to really interact with it, they get, schedules that come in and people, this is a relationship business. Are you getting people that are like, you know what, I don't want to take AI because I'm going to lose a relationship with the customer. I'm not going to be able to be as dialed in as I once was. And that's something that, I, as a 1 store, 2 store, 3 store owner, I'm very interested in. How does that work? And how do you overcome that with the idea of this is brand new and you don't have to do anything, but you don't want to lose a relationship as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think the main thing is that it's not just treating it as this black box that you can never see into and you have no idea what's going on. You just treat it as a different employee, right? Same way you just hire an employee to maybe handle some of your customer conversations. Just because you're not necessarily handling all of them doesn't mean that you can't go back and ask and see what's kind of going on with the customers. You still have that customer contact, right? But you just have someone else that's taking care of it. And eventually, maybe once you go beyond 1 or 2 stores, you can't handle all of them yourselves. And so that's just kind of the way that we've been approaching it.
So we're talking about in RTO, how it affects to RTO. Here's a question I have. I'm looking at something here that says there's a possibility that AI, your AI, the way Atlog deals with AI, especially when it comes to RNR, is there an outside source that you use to deal with any other programs than just Revo, or is it just Revo now?
In RTO specifically, so we actually have been able to integrate with VerseRent as well. So that's like our own integration that we built in house. That being said, the Revo integration is like a native integration with Revo, a lot cleaner on that side, and can do a lot more as well.
What's the help me out with that, because I'm glad you said that. What is the difference between something that you really have to kind of port in or whatever you call it? I'm sorry, I don't know the jargon, but
Yeah.
and Revo, where it's like you're there's a lot more integration because you got in at a time frame when they could start building the code to fit. Like, what are those differences? And is there a program now that somebody could say, you know what, I'd rather go to this operating system because it's going to work more, or are they going to get the same regardless of the fact, unless they do something like Revo where they include you in building it from ground up?
Yeah, honestly, like there are different programs where a vast majority of them you can integrate with. That being said, for RTO specific operating systems, I'd say just because like Revo's built on newer technology, the developers are able to be a lot more nimble in the way that they create integrations. So that just gives us inherent advantage on that side, rather than having to do kind of go through hoops to get the integration done. Not that we can't do it; it's just that it's harder and more expensive. Yeah.
So how does the AI integrate? I mean, you're talking about AI, right? And the way I integrate with AI is I go to my computer, I log it in, it gives me an answer whether I have it do something or something like that. Now that it's in the system, because I've heard it plenty of times. I don't want to do this because I don't know where my customer's information is going to go. It's going to have to go in my system to be able to find certain things, not necessarily like a social security number, but it's going to have to know their name, their phone number, their email address, the simple integrations. I don't want that going anywhere else. How do you get it to work with the system if it's not? Because I mean, you don't put, I would say, a server inside stores. So how does the integration work? Does it reach out through a secured online source, and then it comes back and performs functions?
Yeah, so we have like a secured, well, for the Revo one, totally different. But for the others, we have like a secured like VPN connection that we use to kind of just like grab the data. And then just worrying about like data side, we of course have direct controls in place to make sure all of the data is secure. Just like if you were signing up with a new provider, like a new CRM provider, if you were using HubSpot, you're going to have to give the data somehow to HubSpot, right? So that's just kind of like the way that we think about it. If you wanted to do anything and you wanted to, yeah, it's like depends on like what you wanted to do. If you wanted to not have any information at all, then maybe like the Atlog system isn't the best for you, and you just want maybe just like a normal like voicemail or like an auto attendant or an IVR would be better. But if you actually wanted to be taking action, to be doing work for you, to be taking payments, to be scheduling appointments, things like that, and actually bringing additional revenue and value to your business, you just have to like be able to give it the proper data to do that. And again, just kind of going back to the point of you wouldn't tell a store employee, oh, like try to book someone's appointment without having access to the calendar, right? That just wouldn't make sense. And so that's just kind of like the same take that we have on that side. So we do have like a secure connection to get the data. But yeah, it is definitely something that we have to prove and be able to have trust with our customers as well.
So how do they all use one point? I mean, right now, and I don't know how many stores that you have. I know that R&R has over 200 plus locations, not to mention anybody else that you're working with. As something goes on, one for one store is 200, two for two stores now 400, three for three stores, yeah, and so on. As
Sure.
this goes on, how does the data integration work? And is there an overload point for the AI? Is it developed in a way that each store has its own access point and its own situation? So it's there.
Yeah.
There isn't.
Yeah, each store has its own access point. I think the limit to our data is quite high. So we're not super worried about like that being overloaded. You could probably put like 15. We have customers who give us 50,000 people to call per day. And that's totally fine within our system. So
Wow.
yeah.
50,000 calls.
Yeah.
When you call, does that call show up as the business, or is it an outside number that
Yeah,
calls
yeah.
and
So
then?
we register the call to be in your like locality. So if your store is in Orlando, then it'll have an Orlando zip code, and then it'll say like your business's name on the phone call as well.
I didn't even think about this before we got on. We should have had a demo, right? We could just like call right here on the podcast and be like, "Hey, who's that?" And it's the Revo guys. So, is there any other third party and not operating software, but is there any other software that's integrated into what you guys are doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, what is there anything that you had in mind? I guess like specifically, we can integrate with just about anything, as long as they have an API. So we've put in integrations with like different calendars, Outlook, ShopMonkey, Setmore is another one that we've been working on. Podium is like another software texting platform that we've been working with. We've worked with custom software as well. HubSpot is another one. So basically just like any software that has an API we'd be able to integrate into.
Okay, so that's exactly what I was asking. Like, not only is the operating software that we use, you're being able to get into, but you also have the integration for the third-party softwares that we have to use, like testing, like the CRMs and the
Exactly.
funnels that we use, the schedulers that we have to get people in,
Yeah.
and the before and after hours. All that is integratable for what you do.
Exactly. Yeah. And if we don't have an existing integration, we'll write one for you for free. So
Oh, it's for free. Hey,
yeah.
so when you have these different industries, right? Because I have been in the traditional furniture industry for a long time. I am now in the wheel and tire industry, but regardless of the fact they're both RTO, they're completely different.
Mm-hmm.
When you're working on the programs to do one or the other, is it a big shift, and does it make a lot of difference when you're working with the AI? Is there a time frame where I could say, you know what, maybe he's doing really good on the wheel and tire side, but not good on the furniture side right now, I should wait? Or do you have it locked down where Atlog can do the AI situation regardless of whether it's shed, virtual, online, furniture, tire and wheel?
Yeah, honestly, we can do it for all. So naturally, when we were first building up our system, we knew that we would be going into like a variety of different like sales types, wheel and tire, furniture, sheds, RVs, etc. And so we designed our system from the ground up to be able to actually handle all of those different nuances, right? So the system already knows about the nuances between furniture RTO versus wheels. And that's something that's important and that we have been very intentional about from the very beginning, which has also allowed us to kind of switch between those two contexts very quickly. So it's not just one size, like a one size fits all AI. So it's like custom to each and every store, and we're able to make that custom very quickly as well.
All right. Well, that's good. That's great, actually. Now, I'm hoping that maybe we can name drop a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I know you mentioned we talked about Revo and we've talked about Versorent. That is a huge chunk, but it's not all of it. Is there any other operating softwares out there in the RTO world that you can say Atlog AI is definitely going to work and is set up and ready to go for this?
Yeah, so honestly, like the third biggest is of course high touch and synergy, and so that is something that we have been working on. Honestly, it's just because we haven't had a client on high touch yet. So I think once we're able to sign a client on high touch, we should be good to go on that side as well. I've taken a long look at their systems and things like that. It's like pretty confident that we can use the same approach that we did with Versorent to integrate with high touch as well.
So your job reaches thousands,
Mm-hmm.
thousands. But I've only seen a few of you guys. Are you guys scaling up yet, or is it AI? You don't need anybody else, or whatever? I've seen John. I've seen you. I mean, how many people are on the team now?
Yeah, we just hired our first engineer. And honestly, like we want to keep the team small. It just doesn't really make sense to scale it before it needs to be, I guess. We've done like I think a pretty good job of being able to like handle all of the volume, and we do work kind of long hours, but that's also okay. And yeah, so yeah, we just hired our first engineer. We're looking for another one, but yeah, we're probably going to keep it under 10 for a while at least, just because with AI, you can do so much, so much more where you don't necessarily have to grow headcount to an extremely large amount without, in order to deploy code.
Now, you with all the compliance that you have, especially now that you have a tight knit team. Everybody's kind of doing everything. You got compliance. You've got different states. You've got different mandates, whether it's furniture, tire and wheel, virtual, whatever the case is. I'm curious. What job do you have? Like, is it like, does everybody do everything? Is that kind of the way it works right now? Because you said you hired an engineer, but like, it sounds like everybody's got a little bit of everything going on.
Yeah, I mean, the engineer is really just doing the coding, but me and John are doing just everything. So, like, one day I'm coding, one day I'm doing sales, one day I'm doing legal stuff, talking to lawyers, things like that. So, it's all over for us, for me and John. But that's fun. We enjoy it, so it's pretty good.
I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to put a picture up here of our little Christmas. It was close to Christmas, a little after Christmas, actually. We had the meeting down in Orlando, and we got a little picture that I'm going to post up so you can see Viraj and John looking great there. As you go forward, what's next? I mean, so we have scheduling software down to a science. You saying that you can incorporate things like ShopMonkey and HubSpot and Podium and do things like that. So that's already there. The sales aspect of it, you're making 50,000 calls in depending on who it is. So it could be a few 100,000 a day that this is reaching out to. What's next? I mean, I know that I say that 12 months after you've initially started, so there might not be a next for a long while. But I mean, what's the next step from here? Right now, we've got data centers that are going up everywhere, and I got glasses that can answer half my questions. What's next for Atlog AI?
It's really about making our program as accessible as possible to just any RTO dealer. So I think that starts with number one, the integrations, making sure it's properly being synced to your data and the software that you're already using. Number two is actually, instead of just like us going to us to have to configure the AI every time, giving some of that power back to the end user as well. And in overall, just like improving the end user experience for all of our customers. So making our feedback loops faster, making it so that we don't have to, it doesn't take 2 hours to edit the AI, it can take 2 minutes, right? So a lot of it's improving like our own internal processes as well. But really at the core of everything is just making it so that this is extremely approachable to any RTO dealer. They don't have to think twice about it. They can upload their process, they can talk to us for a little bit, and then they can turn it on right away. And I think we've been making a lot of steps in that direction, which I'm really excited about as well.
Well, I think you're doing something right, because the Business Insider named Atlog one of the 10 most exciting AI agent startups at YC Demo Day spring of 2025. What was that like to have somebody say, hey, these guys are one of the top 10 to get it done?
Yeah, no, it was really exciting. We didn't actually even know the article was being written about us, but the fact that it was, so I think that was even cooler that like we didn't even talk to them about it. And so, yeah, we're really excited about that as well.
Yeah. I mean, being part of something new and that's something that stands out can be very daunting, especially when you're in an industry that is like, they're relatively like, we have these relationships with people. We don't want to get rid of, we have small staffs, right? They're actually 5 to 7 on average, depending. Bigger stores might have a couple more, but you run with a small staff. You're very integrated into the communities that you're in. I mean, when you're on the other side, which you are all the time, and somebody says, why in God's name would I put AI in my store? What is it going to do for me, and how much better can it get with what you're doing if I'm not personally involved in it? I don't have that relationship with somebody, because it's going to be, something on the phone is talking. What are some of the points that you would give somebody and say, these are all the things that I'm telling you that you will get with us that will benefit you through whatever time frame?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the biggest thing is that a lot of customers actually feel more comfortable talking to it. So especially when you're talking in Spanish, we've seen a huge lift in Spanish speaking customers and Spanish speaking geographies as well. So some stores might not always have a Spanish speaker on staff, or the Spanish speaker might be out. And that's something that's really important, is that you always quote unquote have a Spanish speaker on staff. The second part is that we don't necessarily want you to lose that customer touch, right? It's just that I'm sure every single one of these dealers, you have someone sitting on the phone for 3 to 4 hours a day who might not get through all of their calls, and they are just getting hung up on. They're not getting any answers. They're trying to call these people, trying to text them. And then you don't necessarily even know if all of those, if every customer is being contacted as well. Wouldn't it make more sense to have that person, instead of just being on the phone, not necessarily talking to anyone, but actually being in the store, talking to customers, selling, actually creating those human connections where you can have that like more monotonous task be done for significantly cheaper and be way more productive with the customers that are right in front of you. That's something that's really important as well, right? It's like, why are you staying? No need to stay in the back of the store just on the phone. You can just be with the customer, guiding them through your shop and your experience, and why your store is better than the rest of the competition. So it just gives you more time back to spend with everyone who's in front of you.
Well, let's let that pendulum swing the other way. Instead of being trepidatious about what you have going on, and I'm not really sure if I want to do this and whatever the case is, you mentioned earlier virtual rent to own, which is something that I want to ask you about because you do sales calls, you do collections calls, you do scheduling. What are the chances in the next couple of years we're going to have a very small Atlog-ish type of crew where there's only two or three and they're running a company 90% through AI? Is that a goal of Atlog? Is that a goal of some of the guys that are on the virtual side to say, I don't want to say completely eliminate, because you're never really going to eliminate the human interaction, but I have these calls being made, I have this being scheduled for delivery, I have, this as far as collection calls going on, I can kind of maneuver everything in this way. Is that a version of what's going on right now, or are they going to that in the future?
I'd say for us specifically, we aren't going to that, and we like to service the RTO industry. We wouldn't want to become like a huge RTO player. I don't know if I can necessarily speak for any of the virtual players, but what it seems like, it is not going in that direction, because there's still so many like operational things that you have to fix. Even a virtual model where now your customers are all over the country, making sure you have the right partners, making sure assessing risk and things like that. So it's just like a different set of problems, really. So I think it would be really cool if you could run. I mean, if anyone wants to run a 3-person virtual rent to own company, like let me know and we'll get you on Atlog right away.
We're all just like, it's possible. We can talk about it.
But honestly, I don't know if I've seen that just yet. Maybe it could be a possibility. It is something that it's not out of the realm. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But so far in what I've seen, I don't know if anyone's going towards that.
I mean, my natural instinct is to go, okay, because you have those guys that are going to say, I don't know if I want to get rid of somebody. I don't know if I want to cut down the manpower. I am worried about this, or I am worried about that. But again, on the other side of that pendulum, you might have somebody be like, well, this is an opportunity to kind of run it by myself. You know what I mean? I could work 6 days a week if I'm only working 5 hours a day and just let the business run itself. And, as far as AI is concerned, I don't think it's ever going to cut down. I think it's only going to get better unless we have a big asteroid that comes and wipes out half humanity. I think it's going to be AI. I do think at some point in time, we're going to have to worry about Skynet or whatever. But until we get there, please don't come after me. That's just saying that. That's a whole nother thing. So, going into the end, going into, the twilight of the conversation, there's some questions that I wanted to ask you, and, some of the personal, some are business, but I think that you are the guy to ask some of these questions. Mm-hmm. Best piece of advice you got from Y Combinator?
Best piece of advice. I'd say, got a lot of advice at Y Combinator. I think the best one was along the lines of, it was like a mentor, and he was saying, just like, stop asking me what to do and just do it. And then you'll find out like the answer for yourself. It's like, we spend all this time trying to like pontificate on like what the best solution is, what is the best strategy, what is like all of the strategy stuff. And honestly, the best thing to do is just to do it, right? And I think that's really like brought on dividends for us as a company. Of like sometimes we'll get in these long drawn out arguments of like what could be, and instead it's like, what if we just try it, and then we'll see what actually happens. And I think that's like been the best thing of like, what if we just tried to do something instead of just like asking if is it possible or is it not.
I like that. I don't know. I've gotten myself into some crazy situations. That's almost how I ended up on the podcast. And we're like, hey, we should just try it out. And then, years later, but I definitely understand that piece because there's been so many times that you get paralysis by analysis and you're just kind of like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, just do it, dude. Just go out there and do it. If you could go back and tell yourself one thing before you walked into your first RTO store, what would it be?
I'd say
they're not ready. They're not ready.
No, honestly, I'd say I don't even know. I'm just like when we walked into our first RTO store, I don't even know if we had any idea of anything that was going on. Maybe it's just like they have a more open mind than you might think, right? So it's like you're gonna find like a wide variety of characters in every industry. But something that we've really enjoyed about RTO is that a lot of people are at least willing to hear you out. And I think that like just being able to know that and like internalize that has been really powerful as well, because you do get to your first believers, you do get to that first contract, that first big contract, and that really would, just help keep me going. And I think that belief has just kind of helped us stay in the industry and helped us keep going and just keep providing good stuff, good software as well.
Okay. And in 5 years, in your opinion, what does a well-run RTO tire store look like? Is it 50% more integration of AI? Is it, what is it? Are we walking in and just punching, digits on a screen and all of a sudden my car is going to get taken care of? What do you see in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think in 5 years, it's not even just about it's all AI. It's not all AI. I think the main goal should be how can you get as many customers as possible? That's like the main goal. So I think in 5 years, every RTO store, every RTO tire store, whether that's AI or AI enabled or not, should try to have 1.5x the number of customers, number of people renting items. And I think obviously we try to enable that where you can do that without necessarily scaling headcount or expanding your footprint a ton. Like that's a core thesis to what we're trying to do, is like help you grow without having to grow your expenses as well. But I'd say even if you do that without us, I think any RTO business should just try to do that. Just try to grow the customer base as much as they can.
What do you want RTO dealers and RNR franchisees listening to do? If they were listening, what would you say to do right after this episode?
I'd say go to atlog.ai, book a demo. But yeah, honestly, I think just have like an open mind about where you can maybe save money, and not only that AI is just helping you save money, but think about how it can help you grow as well. I think there's like a very big phenomenon around like any kind of software has to cut expenses by X amount to make it worth it, which I 100% agree with. But even just beyond that, you can look at the growth, and we can show you our growth numbers that we've been providing for our customers as well, where with new technology, new innovation, no matter what it is, if you invest in it, it will pay off in the long run, where you will be ahead. And at least if you understand it and you know what's going on with it, it will 100% grow your business and just grow that customer base as much as you possibly can. And so I'd say try to give it a try, and you might be surprised on how much it can help you out.
Last question, and I am glad that you said that. Last question is, since the advent of Atlog AI integrating in the RTO industry, is there numbers to say since AI has been integrated, we have either increased revenue or decreased the amount towards the bottom line when it comes to the amount of labor we have, or whatever the case is? Is there a correlation to both? Hey, we increased a percent here, we decreased a percent there, so therefore it's 2.5, 5.5%. Do you have any of those tangible numbers to say on average this is what a store gains by using an AI?
Yeah, so I can't give you exact numbers just for client confidentiality purposes, but we have seen that in our most successful deployments, they're saving on headcount. So that tends to be between 4 to 6,000 per month that they're saving. And then we've also seen delinquency percentages go down in stores across the board as well. And then also we've seen the AI is collecting at sometimes 1.5x to 2x the rate greater than a human might. So
Really?
that's been, yeah. And so that's been really, really great for us as well. You just always have that constant contact. You have very strict guidelines. You have that, yeah, it's just following your exact process, right? And so we can see not only like cost improvements and savings on that side, so on headcount, or whether that's just moving people around, making them more productive, but also just on the efficiency of the calls as well.
You got now out of everything I think you said, that number based on the collection calls that are made, and you're talking about 1.5x or a little bit higher, that's a lot. Now, would you attribute that to just basic consistency?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. Basic consistency is a big one. I think consistency is, consistency around the calls, but also just the availability to meet the customer where they're at, whether that's on the phone, over text, in English, in Spanish, in French, right? You really are able to adapt to your customer a lot better when you're using a system like ours.
I will tell you guys, in French is going to work. RNR Tire Express is actually now in Canada. They should be opening up this month. I'm sure that you guys are going to be a little bit a part of that. And listen, I want to see you guys opening up your own location, and we'll see how many people we can do with it. Me and Viraj are going to be in the back doing a little thing like this. I'm going to be talking about it. He's going to be doing the AI. Maybe we can run it with one person. Guys, we do appreciate you being on. Viraj, always I love seeing you, man. I love seeing you out and about. I'm glad to have you on the show to answer a couple questions that I had regarding this. And I know we've answered some of your questions, but if you have any more, make sure that you email me, pete@thertoshowpodcast.com. Let me know, hey, this is for Atlog and I have a question. That way I can get an answer for you. If anything, we can do it again. Have them on. We might have like an Atlog AI conversation. I don't know if we're just going to replace Viraj with the AI guy and it's going to have like an avatar, but we can see and make that happen. I would tell you guys, we are trying to be anywhere where you are. That's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, where you're going to see this. Make sure, again, that you subscribe, that you like the channel, that you go anywhere that you can. Buy a shirt, buy some swag, show us some love, get on the newsletter. And guys, I'm going to tell you, it's been great. Viraj, real quick, how does somebody get a hold of Atlog?
Well, you can either just go to our website, atlog.ai, book a demo, or you can email me directly. So that's Viraj, VRAJ, @atlog.ai. I'll respond within 10 minutes. And you can also, I have my personal phone number in my email footer as well. So you can text or call me at any time as well.
Just so you guys know, Viraj does not sleep. So I have seen the pictures of the text messages back at 2:00 in the morning. They are staying a little busy. They're not necessarily going to reach out to you, but if you reach out to them, you might get a message back. So I'm going to tell you guys, don't work too hard. I appreciate everything you do. And I'm going to tell you listeners at home, thank you so much. And remember, get your collections low to get your sales high. Have a great one.
Thanks, Pete.
We're all set, man. Real quick, how are you doing? Everything, you guys are staying busy?
Yeah, things are good. Are you at